for sure do this again. Until then, I'll probably do some other like more normal tying videos too, or not. Maybe it's just all tying a fly and then going to catch a muskie with it. Hey!
Can I come in? I got enough sleep. Tried to sleep, and then I slept.
That was great. You just turned over and did the back scratch help?
Yeah.
Thought it might. You feel like your brain is awake?
Yeah, scratch check is really helping me. So that's why grown-ups have to be like beside the bed edge, and then like kids have to stay on the bed other side because you may fall off.
What did you say was helping you?
Scratch back.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What kind of fly are you making today, Dad?
A musky fly.
Great.
You want to tie something on here?
Sure. Can I pick one of these shiny colors?
Yep.
Perfect color. Blue. Blue and white. Make friends. Where's the purple?
Oh, it's over here. You want to use that?
Yeah, and the blue.
Okay.
Straighten those. Line it. And then we can like have like this, and you can cut. If you want to cut off, it's like gonna be rainbow.
Okay.
What kind of fish are you seeing in the lakes and ponds and stuff?
I am seeing. Well, I mostly fish rivers.
Mhm.
What's the fish I've been after recently?
What's the fishes that you've been catching? Muskies?
Mm-hmm. That's what this.
How
is
much muskies?
How much?
Yeah.
I didn't tell you. I got one a couple days ago.
But how many? Like how many? Like a number of how many?
On like per day?
What does that mean?
In one day.
Yeah? We got one?
Yeah, sometimes you only get one. That's a pretty good day.
Yeah, because when you get one, that means you're still practicing a little.
That's right. So I kind of like to gauge it up about there. And then I know that I'm going to tie in this much off the back. So hold that with your left hand. Mm-hmm.
It's going one way.
Oh, hold on.
Oh no, it's twisted. It says, what are we wanting to do today?
You want to go to a big rock climbing place?
What's a big rock climbing place?
Yeah, should I show you a picture?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go do that and we can finish the fly later? You want to finish these wraps?
But I
So just wrap right on top of it. Just like perfect.
But I kind of want to do pirate popcorn. And we can lay some down. It's enough.
Then you And if you want to come back, here, get your hand on there again. If you want to come back there. Wow. Alright. We're fucking back. Using 140 since I don't have GSP. I think another video that I've put up recently discusses my trials and tribulations related to fly tying materials. I haven't published a video that, I think it was last week, where I take full accountability for not doing shit for 2 years. And looking up I have to call the IRS. I know I've said this in a video before, but they're buried somewhere in really mediocre stuff, so I'll say it again. The hairline requires Form 637 excise tax registration to get on the commercial program, which, I think it's fair to a certain extent. Obviously, make exceptions for me. I'm special. So we're kind of going long without shorts, and doing straight ties mostly because of the thread. But yeah, you got to get this form registered through the IRS. I did that in May of 2020, so government, the IRS just generally, and then also May of 2020, that was like hot and spicy COVID. And yeah, whatever, you know, I couldn't find out where it was or if I had one or what. So a couple, I don't know, month, year lapses, and it was like, all right, I gotta stop bothering Richie, owner of District Angling in DC, because I have to put my orders through him, and then he ships it to me, and you know, then I have to pay him, and then I just evade for weeks at a time, and not intentionally. Now I'm gonna do a little thread bump to flare out the next one. And yeah, I sat on the phone with them for the IRS on hold, going to that department for, I think it was a series of like, you know, 15 to 20 minutes. And then one of the times I was like, all right, I'm just going to see how long it is. I was tying, I just put my phone down. I was like, all right, you want to play hardball? I'm game. That's the liar, liar quote or reference. Like 2.5 hours of being on hold to get to this department. And then it connected to the department and click. There's no, you know, call number or like case number or whatever. It's just gone. That never happened. So, not to be deterred, I did it again. And the same exact thing happened. It was like an hour and a half. I mean, that is such a long time to be on hold just generally, and then to be on hold and just get... I was like, guys, it isn't hard to do. I'm not lying about it. I already have my social security number programmed in there, so I can't register a new one. I actually don't know about that. It makes a lot of sense, though. Now, I'm going to use some of the shorter ones. I might throw in some longer ones just to... Yeah, I will. Yeah, we'll do that now. A lot of the times tying with the 200 strand GSP, dad guilt kicking in. I'll just get the clump in there, and then if I want to put longer ones on, put a couple more on, but because this ends up taking up more volume to get enough tension to compress fibers and just to lash them down first. I'd rather get everything in there once. And so what I'm doing is just taking off chunks. I'll be okay if a few brown ones make it in there. I used to be a little more particular, and it's been a slow journey. So the, 7 to 8 little strands like that, the longer ones, doesn't necessarily make this tie meaningfully more anything. So just adding those. But over the course of the fly, it ends up making a really big difference. You get a lot of length and everything flows together, and some of it is optics, but it really does, with those longer fibers sort of draping over the whole thing, really does create better movement in the whole shape of fish perspective, not necessarily like game changer type thing. So beast flies, big hollows, that ties of that nature. I gotta reverse it. I actually do have a good chunk of a spool of 200 strand, but I ordered a whole mess of thread a couple weeks ago, and it ain't cheer. And once you create those thread dams, and then you get your bucktail in the middle, straight tie, reverse tie, the flare is, and that's something to do when you're tying or prepping your mono extensions for beast flies, or even on the big musky flies going with the longer shanked 6/0 and what have you. This is actually progress. I have absolutely no idea if my face is in focus. My daughter was up. I should just get in here, make yourself useful. She has a feature, or she'll have a feature in the beginning of this. She's such a good kid. Raised by some good parents. Divorced good parents. But how could you relax or go to church or whatever? This is about to get dicey. If you're staying together for your kid's sake and your marriage sucks, are you staying together for your kid's sake? I'm appreciative to be in a positive co-parenting situation. Which it's taken a lot of work, both with the kid and managing that relationship. But nothing easy, right? She's been doing Ninja Warrior classes with her mom. Mom has her on Tuesdays. And this week, was that yesterday? So Wednesday, and we're talking with her mom and been having a difficult time at Ninja Warrior. And she actually wasn't going to go. We were just, Christmas break, schedules are all weird. And so I was going to have her Tuesday, and then, we're just talking about making the schedule work this week. And she was like, oh, I actually need to take her to Ninja Warrior because last week was not good. she was just getting, daughter was getting frustrated, and mom was also getting, I don't know, taking accountability for maybe not doing the best job at being supportive during. I mean, it's hard, dude. You watch your kid crying, like, that sucks. You want to be like, yeah, you don't have to do this. And then, you know, hindsight is like, all right, you actually have to say, I know this is hard and it can be so difficult that it makes you want to cry, but if you enjoy it, you gotta show up and you keep doing it. That for real gives me goosebumps. And so the next day, or sorry, this is a week later, but they went to Ninja Warrior. I didn't hear anything. I'm guessing it was fine. The next day, we're at a park, and I'm playing. All right, pretend this is my daughter. Pretend this is my workshop, and so she's in a shop, and I have to call her and ask her for repairs. And dude, when we start going down the road of let's pretend, I actually have to get in front of becoming annoyed because she starts telling me, don't tell me how to pretend, all right? The kid's still got it. So I start getting like, I go way over the top. Pretend like I'm in a workshop and you need your roof. And I was like, got it. And climbed on top of this like rope jungle gym type thing. She got up there and was coming across a pretty high gap. I mean, it was a challenge. It was not an easy situation. She is more capable than like 99% of Americans physically. I was incredibly impressed, but I was like, just, you know, grabbing stuff, utilizing body weight, moving. It's pretty cool what they do with this Ninja Warrior class with 5-year-olds. I was like, dude, that's all that frustration. You're just able to do really some incredibly impressive stuff without even thinking about it. Now, you know what I want to do? Add some flair. These are just some key off. Kejelloo. Keough. Got that hookup from my boy Jack. I think they were on sale for like 20 or 40 bucks or something. I never ended up paying him. We talked about it. Jack, I got you, bro. I'll hit you up next Tuesday. Bro, I got you. Alright? Dude, it's $40. What do you think? I don't have $40? I have $40 now. So I said flare because it's like necessary for fly action profile. Not really. But it does putting a couple on the front tie here, and then a few off the front of the front hook. There's a little bit of wiggliness and excess kill and extendo taper. There is a 40mm big game shank on the ground right here. Now, a lot of times, even without the complexities of managing my GSP usage, which honestly, it's also like I could have gone to Mahoney's today. Shout out Mahoney's, Rob, Gary. Rob, what the fuck? It's my fault we haven't fished together recently. Yeah, they have a great tying department, but I just have not prioritized it. Not that I didn't have the time, it's that I didn't prioritize it. Played a wicked game of Pirates today. Fully trespassed on a public golf course. This is with my daughter. And there's a whole... You guys wouldn't understand, alright? There's wizards. Skeletons are now involved. And she's making... she's been playing Zelda with her mom on Nintendo Switch. I then got Nintendo Switch after a couple months, after hearing, I like Mom's House better. This isn't like one-upping necessarily, but like, yeah, I mean, my parents were divorced. You know, you end up liking things or feel more comfortable at one of the houses. I don't want that. I'm not going to fight against that process, but I'd like for it to be closer to neutral. So anyway, she's been playing Zelda, and now skeletons have become a thing, and kids' minds are... My daughter is the most special. She was saying that the golfers are the wizards, alright? And so there's a playground that's adjacent to a golf course. And so we go through, I was the bad influence. I was like, oh, let's go over once again, at this point, I am fully in. I'm oh, I totally forgot about this today. So I'm 100% in character. We're pirates. We started out as enemies, but now we're all good. I'm going to start doing more frequent and smaller ties here. Oh yeah, this is going to be a middle shank. Alright. Yeah, I was the bad influence because I was like, oh, let's go over here to the wizard land. And it's like the little perimeter of pine trees adjacent to this golf course in between the park. And yeah, today She was like, let's go. And I mean, it's late December. There's not many golfers out there. And I don't know, I was in kind of a weird, big shocker, I was in kind of a weird space earlier in the day, and it's pretty helpful to just do whatever a 5-year-old wants to do while you're playing imaginary whatever, pirates, baking, whatever. And then to go as far as to like start, developing the story on your own. If you can get there, man, that can fix a bad mood pretty fucking quickly. So there's like 1 or 2 golfers out. I thought they had all gone. It was getting kind of dark, like 4:45. And we've gone through a lot. There were elixirs made of skeletons that I think the wizards ate, or she was feeding them to the wizards. It felt a little... Something didn't feel legal about that. But there are no laws. That's international water. There's no laws. That's maritime law. And yeah, so after all, like, we have one more thing that we gotta do. And we got these foam swords at Hobby Lobby. And I start, like, we're going, she's getting a little gassed at this point. And I start running over to where we're going, this place we definitely needed to go. And I'm yelling at the top of my lungs, like Braveheart. I saw, it was like multiple holes over, but there's no one out there. It's quiet. There's no leaves on the trees. And I see people like really concerned, looking over, not just looking over, like they were walking towards where I was running across a fairway, screaming at the top of my lungs with a foam sword in my hand. And a small child, girl nonetheless. Whatever. Yeah, that shit's fun. It's hard to... It can be hard to get into. To really just convince yourself. I wanted to take her rock climbing at this indoor joint up in Kingsport, but she wanted to play pirates. I was like... Because I was kind of feeling... I was like, dude, just... Can we just do... This is going to sound selfish to people that don't have kids, but god damn it, can we just do something that you like and also dad wants to do? But again, got into it. She had a blast. That last quest or something was... There's this little driving range that I didn't even realize was there. And they have these... I used to go to one in Cincinnati with my stepbrother and a couple buddies. Just get ripped on what is now weed that is probably wouldn't even hold a candle to the stuff you can get at a gas station. And there was a power line next to this one, and it's like, if you're facing this way, like that's the driving range, You have to legitimately do that. You have to go all the way over and then also face at like a 60-degree angle to try to hit this tower, and it's a fucking antenna tower. There's like 9 pieces of steel that you could possibly hit. So we would just sit there and get buckets of balls and try to hit that thing. It was really far too. So at this little driving range on the golf course today, or the Wizard Island, they had these. I'm sure anyone who plays golf is like, yeah, dude, they have these everywhere. Well, I haven't been to a fucking driving range, so get off my back. In, years at least. But they're like these circles of like metal. They're like this. Instead of the sand trap with like the color on it that notates the yard, it's a piece of metal. God, that's gotta be fulfilling. So there were a bunch of balls around. And yeah, I was just peppering those things from pretty close range for another 10-15 minutes. Then we packed it in. Talking about fly tying, obviously. This is a little homemade brush from a paintbrush and a piece of metal used for making conventional bucktails for muskie. And I just have it attached to a magnet that's hanging up on a light that I have over when I'm not doing, we'll call this a tying video, I think. Those thread bumps were kind of wimpy, but I have gotten significantly better. I'm going to restart that sentence because it didn't make sense. The camera stopping and starting issue has improved dramatically. It was just the read speed of the memory cards. No thanks to you guys for not telling me. I said leave a comment. I probably also followed that up with some snarky, I'm not going to read it, which is also true, and I'm sorry for that. I might. Then we're going to start transitioning to gray. So tying a bigger fly, longer bucktail, 4, 5, 6, 12-inch fibers. Some fucking joker was telling me, there's only one person that has told me this, so if this lands to you, you're a joker. Was telling me that he had seen a tail that was 11-inch fibers. I mean, I need to talk about it. I was just talking with Josh Varner about what that actually is, and I felt bad for even lending that story, quote unquote, or comment enough credence to even talk about how it was so stupid. That's how insane. 11 inches is wild. 6, if you get a tail with like lots, with a majority of 6-inch fibers, it doesn't look like a deer tail that you've ever seen before. I'll go through 1,000 and I'll see maybe 2, 3, 4 of those. And then even the 5 to 5.5s, like the lots majority 5, 5.5, we're talking a couple dozen maybe. anyways, tying flies that are getting into this big, I want kind of like a white back with mostly gray meat, and then I think I might do some like orange fibers throughout. But you gotta tie. You just gotta realize that, like, if you tie the whole thing white and then put a bunch of ties in, or like 2 or 3 ties in on like a, let's say, 8 tie fly, those front 2 or 3 are with 5, 6 inch fibers of gray. Most of that fly is gonna end up looking gray. So I do want kind of a prominent white booty. This is just something, you know what it was? First pair of nice shoes I've had in quite some time. Standing in the kitchen and in the shed, chopping up bucktail is not good, and shitty Walmart shoes, not good for my feet. The hunt for gray, it's kind of like a light olive gray. That's pretty sick. I kind of wanted a darker one, but ooh, ooh. I'm gonna take it right into the little straight. I have this chunk too. I really like this color. Some longer fibers. We're just gonna mix and match. So as you are building these flies, a couple things to keep in mind. When you're first starting, you're going to stumble into some good flies, for sure. With, you know, proper tying and technique and watching videos and, you know, familiarity with materials and being able to manipulate stuff and all that, you're gonna find your way into some good flies. When you start adding shanks and changing up hooks, and honestly, it's things that I take for granted right now. I put so much thought into it when I started tying bigger flies. All the, you know, this hook gap, this keel, this momentum. I still do. I still think about all this stuff, and I guess one of the reasons that I don't talk about it too much is because I think by the time this might come across as conceited, but by the time you are in a place where you are, and this is my experience, in a place where you are tying like that, it is likely the case that you have developed as a tyer such that you have your own hook preferences and styles and, you know, your own thought process. And I don't claim, or I don't profess to be correct in everything that I do, and I think one of the reasons I avoid it is because I don't want people to think I need to use this hook, or I need to, you know, use 2 different colored grays, or have like some form of latent OCD in order to be a good tire and the best guide ever. That's just my personal experience, and it doesn't necessarily need to be for everyone. But yeah, so recognizing that you'll have some good flies. You're gonna have some bad flies. You're gonna have some flies that look fucking dope, and you cast them, and they are a nightmare to cast, and they don't sink at all, and it's just part of the process. Being able to get construction of, let's say, a bucktail changer on the first go, that when you put it in the water, it makes you say, ooh. Make them say, ooh. That, it takes... I want to be careful about saying it takes time, because that's not true. You can't just stare at your vise for 40 years and just, oh, I'm the best tire ever. It takes bad flies. It takes hours. At the vise, it doesn't take time. It's number of flies. People ask, how long have you been fishing or tying? Back the fuck off. I'll reply, well, do you want the answer in years or days on the water? Hours felt a little preemptively defensive that I'm young or younger and didn't start fly fishing until my late 20s. But yeah, days on the water is like, how long have you been guiding? How long have you been in this area? I mean, how long have I been how many days have I fished these rivers? Thousands at this point. We're about to be on a soapbox, so I'm gonna back off a little bit. You see me working in that Mountain Dew chug, that Diet Dew chug? That's for when I make it big and I'm doing promotional, thinking of the Wayne's World. Little, yellow, different. So good. That's real though. That's not Mountain Dew, sponsoring me or anything. If they wanted to. I would even, like, the quote-unquote sponsorships where it's like the pro teams, where you just get occasionally some fucking pretty mediocre deals. You get like wholesale pricing that they're still making margin on, for whoring out your abilities as a tire or a skateboarder or whatever. I would do that. I would for sure do that for a couple free cases of Diet Dew. I'll drink a Diet Dew in every video. I'll put a Diet Dew in the background. I'll get a wrap, like a boat wrap. I'll make the whole thing look like a can of Diet Dew. I'll pay for that out of my own pocket. If Mountain Dew just gives me, this is the old, I worked in DC in consulting for a decade, the old promotion in title and responsibility, but not money, just so people can feel important. So if Mountain Dew sponsors me in title and responsibility, I'll make my boat look like a can of Mountain Dew. It's been a while since I talked about Lazy Boy. Shouts out to Lazy Boy. Oh, I kind of mashed the top part of that down. Yeah, Lazy Boy. That feels like a what could have been situation. I have been tagging them in every single one of my posts for like 3 years. I'm doing it with Sweet Baby Ray's right now. Kind of just so I had this really stupid idea. It's not stupid. If anyone's familiar with the movie Basketball, some guys, the creators of South Park, in the movie, they're creating it's a basketball, baseball hybrid sport. It's like pig. No, it's not like horse. Baseball rules. So the original basketball was made out of their Lazy Boy, and they ended up, having that as like their. This thing just keeps slipping down. That was like a prized possession. The Lazy Boy ball. And so I thought it would be cool to catch one of these off-industry partnerships. And I wanted to prove, I probably had like 1,000 followers or something. I wanted to envision this being like 3 or 4 years, and then I would be like, hey, Lazy Boy, check out all of these analytics and statistics based on my activity and how many accounts of these demographics have been, whole pitch them a deck, right? And then one day, I was just not able to tag Lazy Boy, and I said, that's weird. And I went to my personal account, and I was able to tag Lazy Boy. The motherfuckers straight up blocked me. I emailed the woman. I said, hey, I know this sounds stupid. And I wrote out that whole explanation. Crickets. I think we're going to do a little bit of flash in there. I would honestly, at that point, even appreciate, wow. Yeah, dude, you're out of your mind, and it is sort of a nuisance to have someone promoting our product that we clearly are sure they're not even using. I am. Not trying to get them super even, and really, I'm not doing a crazy amount. So I'm gonna really go for it. If you want to make the big flies super flashy, I'm just gonna do that now. I don't like the lack of taper in this tie back here. If you want to make them super flashy, alright, I actually didn't see the other side, I dig it. You got to put in a lot of flash. I would recommend using Magnum Flashaboo. This just putting in the sort of intermittent. Been doing the Nightmare Wavelength, Ripple Ice, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm even well known for this. I'll put like root beer flat or like root beer crystal flash on top, and then I'll throw some like, you know, UV pearl on the bottom. That's definitely what's going to do it. This is a Gamma Get 'em. Not yet. I was just remembering the last bucktail changer that I tied for a video, that as soon as I took it out of the vise, I was like, holy shit, that front section is garbage. Tied with black, and I don't have enough contrast. I'm used to having the light up here. It's excuses, alright? That's what those are called. So a couple different options to get to the long fibers. I tend to cut off more than I'm going to use. And then separate it out. Most of that is, it's actually good kind of Buford-y head stuff. And then I make a little pile. And I have I don't let it get too crazy. I have one bin of just semi-organized by color and length, so that when I say, oh yeah, I want like a gray head or a darker head, I know that I can just pop the bin open instead of searching for a tail. So what I was doing there is basically getting the shorts out. That's a little pile for Buford-y head. Medium, that'll be used in the front hook. And then a group of longs. And I was just way too wimpy going to GSP. I want most of these, felt some slippage, some slipped. I want most of these, most of the length so not much bulk with the reverse tie on that one. And really, you can tie them in directly in front of the tie that you may have missed your long fibers on or gone too short on. You can just do a straight tie right in front of it, and you know, like tying a clouser, just cut those butts real short to the eye of the hook. But I find it a little easier to do when I've already tied. I'm running up against crowding the hook eye out. I just find it easier to do the reverse. And that bucktail is just like, this is like all of these are the longs, and it's just because I took it out closer to the edge. So some tails have a more even distribution, some are like, you know, a bunch of 4-inch fibers, and then just intermittently throughout the tail you have 100 to 200 7-inch fibers, just these super long outliers. I missed a spot here, and I'm okay with putting a little more up top. Cinch that down. Favor up top. Get some more up top. And with less compressible, this is pretty compressible hair. Less compressible hair, I'm putting in a whip prior to wrapping around. But with the more compressible hair, that your thread is locked in there. I fell asleep reading. Not like, you know, I'm a book guy. Fell asleep reading next to my daughter. Woke up. I turned the air down, probably making dinner or something. The heat. It's pretty cold. And yeah, so I cranked it up after I woke up, and then put the contrast REI dry fit. This thing is Thank you, Katrina, my stepmom. Or my dad. My dad could have gotten this one. This thing is fucking legit. But yeah, I put this on for the consistency to this morning's. That was it. Or this afternoon's. And now I am roasting. See, it's these things that take a, you know, what could be 30, 45 minute fly and turn it into an hour, hour and a half. But it's also these things that make me say, ooh. Make me say, oh. I'll keep working on that. Yamagatsu. Yamagatsu. I don't know why the G is a Y. Gamma get 'em. Gamma gotcha. 3-aught. 4-aught in the back. Arex. Predator Stinger. Yamagatsu. B10S 3-aught in the front. 4-aught Predator Stinger in the back. £40 bite wire. And we're going to do I'm going to end up having extra here, about 9 inches. And then the excess will be used for a trout streamer. That was close to being real sticky. I think these are like 8mm beads. They can be kind of tricky to get the even really clean cut wire through the plastic beads, so just put your scissor through the hole and smooth it out now. Now this part, something I like to do, I know I want my bead there. So I'm only tying in that first one, and then I'm going back through, not tying anything. All loose. And from here, you can tighten up both of those loops at the same time. So, you know, pulling this one and then pulling that slack through the system. So that's about where I want it. Pinch. They won't be perfectly even, but I found that is, for me, the most consistent way to. Man, that's, I don't like that. I don't like closing up the eye that much. Ends up being a pain in the ass. I don't even know if you do have to close up the eye. Where I find that flies break is hang-ups. You know, a fish can fuck up the articulation pretty bad, but dude, if that's the case, tie another fly, buy a new fly, retire it, or just call it, you know, that's your $30, $35 or an hour at the vise, or years and years of your life poured into one goddamn fly. But like, yeah, congrats, you either learn that you suck at tying and you need to, a 10-inch smallmouth, you know, ruining a 6-inch fly articulation. Donde? Note to self, get more clippies. Promise all of these fibers and everything else will be okay. That's better. That's where I keep my body tubing, right there. This is where I keep the lighter. So this body tubing, yes, it props up the tie. But I like to use them if I'm not using body tubing, like throughout the fly. If I'm not using body tubing throughout the fly, going single bead articulation or just shank to hook on changers or whatever. I do like the body tubing to reduce fouling or eliminate fouling, because now that ain't going around the hook. So we're going to do thread dams with the 140. Using the 140 because, yeah, even when I have an abundance of GSP, it just doesn't accumulate from making thread bumps as quickly. So I just go through and make them where I know I'm going to want them. And cover up the gaps along the way. We got long grays. Pretty aggressive taper on these. When I'm grabbing that much material to separate shorts, I will split the pile up. Just a really aggressive taper. So real tight pinch on that after you get 2 around. And then after you get 2 around, especially with the compressible, you can start mashing. Less compressible hair, I like getting 3 or 4. And then even from right here, you can like time with deer hair, kind of wiggle. If you try to sneak around on that first one, after you've gotten 2 around, sometimes you'll just catch a chunk. And so, given that it is compressible, and I'm happy with the distribution mostly, it's bucktail, it'll figure itself out. I'm not going to worry about those butts laying down. Where do I keep my body tubing again? No, that's a phone charger. I'd be interested to see where what the fuck am I doing with that shit? I'm just cutting it off and then. Okay, that is right there. Daddy likey. Oh gosh, I'm sitting here suffering. And look at that, I got my little thread bump. Mystery location of body tubing. So you can just imagine the chaos that is me doing laundry for myself and a 5-year-old as it relates specifically to maintaining matching socks. Dude, it is, I mean, statistically, you would think that it is, I mean, some of these sock hauls are actually, they don't seem probable. I mean, they aren't. Well, I guess same probability as any other iteration of. Anyways, yeah, I'll get like 12 socks. I haven't counted the actual, like the record number, but it has been, probably close to 10. None of them match. It's just like, what? I am wearing 2 different socks right now, but don't tell anyone. GSP is starting to feel funky. So I can definitely straight tie these with a thread bump, and they are so compressible. Now, here's the missing body tubing. It was next to the cell phone charger I was sitting on. As I was saying, I find that I spend a lot of time in the tying process, so not actual tying thread and material onto a hook, but selecting materials, retying, choosing lengths, all that stuff. On the back sections, then it gets a little quicker in the middle, and then articulation takes a little while. And then the front, it's just pretty quick because you're kind of filling in the gaps. You already have the instructions have been given to you based on what you have done prior to the front hook, and really that becomes the case after your first tie-in. So you don't need to do anything. Do whatever the hell you want. I would advise that you gotta think backwards and think about how the rest of your fly is going to look based on your first tie-in point, which can be kind of a daunting prospect, but I'm all pretty close there. Missed a little bit. I don't like the distribution. Could use a little more on top, but using GSP, I get away with it. Oh, dude, this is going down. Vivus, the gift that keeps on giving. I try not to be a diva about it because it is a great product in its like what it is, but how it works like on the spool and all the little things like the intricacies around it, I super glue pieces of foam typically. Yeah, there you go. Because otherwise you get this wretched squeaking noise. That sounds like a fly tire right there. I would use Vivus, but they have this wretched squeaking noise when I affix them to my bobbin as I prepare to explore the relationship between man and animal, both on the vise and in the water. Yeah, I glue pieces of foam to it to shut it the fuck up while I'm tying. And then when you get close to the end, and also at the beginning, there is such a high propensity to start fraying. finding a little chunk of exactly what I want very quickly totally derailed any thoughts. Maybe that's why you're here. It definitely is. Just escaping. Heaven forbid I sit down with myself and my own thoughts. Now, I've done a lot of that. Oof. Scary stuff in there. Useful, I'd say, but, you know. Use sparingly. Let the record show I feel like both a great dad and a shitty dad at the same exact time for the same exact thing. Not getting up when my daughter was awake crying. She's 5.5 and she's a beast. She can get herself back down. And I generally do accommodate. She just knows that when I'm serious, I am serious, and I'm not very often. So it's nice to be able to utilize that, but still does not mean it feels good. But also, reason it's good dad behavior is she needs to learn to get back to bed on her own and rely on her own healthy coping mechanisms. Dude, I got more where that came from. Speaking of more where that came from, such an insane amount of bugs in. Goodness gracious. So we're gonna do about 2/3 of that little pile right there, scientifically speaking. Get some longer flowy stuff. And this is where I'm just going to go right in. I'm really not trying to stand up or create bulk anymore. And we're just going to do the rest. And we're just going to do the rest. I kind of get those ties on top and then mash. This colorway is inspired by my shoe. So if you want something that's going to catch a fish, or you have a good shot at catching a muskie with, look at your shoes. Now you can tie like the back, just the back hook of this thing, and you're good. And the rest of the time you're spending at the vise is honestly, for tying, yes, requirement. You have to, just like casting, just like shooting a gun, you have to be at the range, pulling the trigger, feeling what it feels like. fishing. You can be a great caster. That doesn't mean shit for fishing. When you're on a boat or waiting and like you're reading water and boat stuff, you're doing some quick decision making. So yeah, you have to do this shit to get better at tying. But like, if you're tying flies to go out and catch muskie, tie Buford, tie a little hollow with a craft fur head, whatever it is, go out and fish. What you even know about this little bit of splash? Since we are already in the realm of extra, I used extra to describe my tying style to my boy Noel in Australia. I don't even know if he's allowed to talk to me because of geopolitical politics. Yeah, I had said, kind of give myself a hard time for some of these ties that I like the creativity, whatever you want to call it. Forget his phrasing, all of it was pretty entertaining. But more or less saying that, like, yeah, that's, I mean, I know what you're saying, it's just kind of pretty American and reserved for, I thought, like, teenage girls. Like, alright, yeah, so this is all, it's all tracking. Thank you. And then putting feathers on, yeah, I'm going to give them a little, that stuff does become pretty malleable. But it's going to stop that connection point from breaking. This is a little homemade EP brush that I'm not going to go too crazy with. In terms of density, either with density or with crowding the eye. And what I'm doing there is providing accountability for myself to end it right here. So choice of EP is really primarily because I've experimented a couple different times, and I wanted something with, it's going to divert water. There's this whole like push, this concept of pushing water, and I'm not going to get into this at the end of an already, I'm guessing, pretty darn long video. But yeah, I wanted something that would divert water and not be buoyant, because there's a lot of deer hair. There's a lot of pretty buoyant bucktail going on. I feel like I'm starting to get a little less handsy with the camera. Taking some of that. I was using this as the applicator for some of that E6000 Fabrifuse. Pretty legit.